welcome to Season 2 of Grand Rapids Community College's premier cybersecurity podcast, Defeasible Reasoning. I am here in the epic studios of Grand Rapids Community College Media Center Plaza on the 43rd floor of the media building. Here today with everyone's favorite non-technical person, Noah D. Smith.
Yeah, that's me.
And everybody's soon-to-be new favorite technical person, Nicole. Is it Scheffler?
Scheffler.
Yes. Man, good one. Awesome. The tech diva and now digital science woman. Will you say that?
Digisance. It's a made-up word. Goes well with Google.
Is it French? Digisance.
Digisance. Yes.
I like it. Who is a sometimes teacher, sometimes Cisco hype person.
Yep.
And a professional, as well as the host of Diva Tech Talks, where she is living the dream as a tech diva. Could you unpack this for us a little bit? Tell us a little bit about what got you into the technicalness, and then how that moved into a job at Cisco and the podcasting thing and all that good stuff.
Yeah, just like a life history.
Well,
Goodness.
we've only got 20 minutes. So keep it.
No, that's why I actually call it Digital Renaissance Woman, because I feel like I'm a woman of many things and not necessarily just a professor or just a corporate servant.
Is that what they call that now?
Probably not. But I went
valued
to the
human resource asset, I think, is the current BuzzFeed.
No, I come from Texas, so that's where you'll hear a little y'all or wonder why I have Southern hospitality. There I studied computer science, business computer information systems, and did a lot of programming and didn't really love the translation of that into the career side of the field. So I ended up getting my master's in IT, which was incredibly eye-opening, and seeing things come full circle now that I've aged into my career about 15 years has been really great. So then I got the job at Cisco, and I've been at Cisco for 14 years in engineering.
So how does Cisco wind up keep you in Grand Rapids?
Well, we do the Cisco Sales Associate Program, which is a great resource for students or those looking to do something after they graduate. We have a sales track and an engineering track. And I actually went in just for sales because I just wanted to get my foot in the door at Cisco. And at the sales interview, I was like totally the geekiest person. And everyone was like freaked out about me because I had this like very technical background. So they offered me a job in engineering. And you go to Raleigh, and I packed up my Volkswagen Passat with my bass guitar and like all my belongings, and you move into furnished housing in Raleigh, and they train you, and then they kind of say, where do you want to go from here? And I had the choice to kind of go back between Grand Rapids or Texas, and I felt like Grand Rapids was a smaller market, so it'd be a little bit risk adverse to be able to come in and make a bigger difference in a smaller market. So that's why I've had a really great time being part of the Grand Rapids community ever since. In that 14 years, really spending my time here, living across the state, and advocating for women in technology because I saw it firsthand being an engineer at Cisco. And now I lead the strategy for our engineering division of our partner organization, which is a very long title, but very cool work because there's almost 80 to 90% of our business at Cisco goes through our dealers or our partners. And so I deal with the engineering strategy to approach that. And so that's like across America.
Pre-sales building kind of thing?
No, we actually do it more around the using of the technology because our partners, I always compare it to Ford or GM. You never buy your car from Ford or GM. You buy it from a dealer. Same with Cisco. You don't buy Cisco from Cisco. You buy it from a dealer like a CDW, Trace 3, Presidio, things like that. So our department is about 200 engineers from, I cover Americas, so it's Canada all the way down to Latin America. Mm-hmm. So I have quite a large territory, and I work with the director there, Dave Hokerson, and him and I really figure out the strategy and work with all leadership to see how do we engage our partners, because just like Ford or GM, when they put a new widget on the car, especially now with software, which is the great comparison, that cars are becoming so software driven, they turn something on, they need to go train those dealers. The dealers that have the best invested relationship in Ford are going to get more access to that information and education. Same with our partners, ones that are more on board with us with certifications, they're going to get from Cisco us teaching them about our latest and greatest so that they can provide services to do it. And that's really the layer where they can turn things on. They could customize it just like you would take your car to be serviced at the local Fox Acura or something like that. They can pay me later for that free ad. It's kind of that model.
Patreon.com/Digessence.
Yes. I need to make that.
They can afford it.
Just been doing some advocacy. I was doing media reporting for mitechnews.com. So I was grateful for the opportunity to do associate editing, cover women's events. Covering those women's events was great, but it was very news style. A bunch of people got together in a ballroom. It was sponsored. There was food. It was great. Keynote. But what I really loved was the moment where the woman was vulnerable on stage and shared her experience. So that's why I got into the podcast world. So happy to be here today.
Would you like to be vulnerable right now and share your experience? I don't know. It sounds like you kind of had the bull by the horns there. You do a lot of talking about STEM, sometimes STEAM, maybe.
Yeah.
And diversity in technology. What do you think are concrete things we can do to foster that? So one of the things we struggle with recruiting women into IT, recruiting diversity into IT and security. We got some stuff in the hopper. We're doing, we're reaching out to high schools, particularly diverse high schools, trying to snare them while they're young, get our claws into them. And bring them in. But I wonder if you have any thoughts on other strategies that we maybe should be thinking about as we try and build that.
Yeah, that's a great question. Whether you're dealing with diversity and inclusion programs at a corporate level, which I deal with every day within Cisco, or if you're dealing with getting talent into the pipeline, it's all about knowing what's available and putting it in front of them. So a lot of times they don't know what they don't have access to. So I believe there's things being created. There's so many great programs like Cyber Patriot, just incredible.
NSA, Day of Cyber.
NSA, there's so many programs. Netacad does things that are sometimes free courses online. But if people don't know about it, I think it's just exposing them to it. And that's why I said it's parallel, because if you have a program like a diversity program at a large company, people won't use it unless they know about it. So I just believe it's all about knowledge management and getting that knowledge of those programs to the people. And I think it's also about the life cycle of a student or a human being and looking at where they're at in their life and what can you do to start getting them thinking about it young. I know that, for example, my 3-year-old has some Barbies, so it's pretty humbling to come home and play with Barbies after a busy day. But my Barbies, they don't yell help and run around. They're like, oh no, you had a weak password, Barbie. Like, oh no, you've been ransomware. Let's go get other Barbie to fix it. So I think it's like,
IT Barbie.
IT Barbie. They just came out with a Miss Monopoly, where it's the first game where women get an advantage. So, for example, the women players get $200 for passing go, and men only get $100 or something like that.
It's teaching us an important lesson about that Mr. Monopoly only makes 70% of what Mrs. Monopoly
exactly, to the dollar. So I think it's just looking at it at all stages too, and starting to get them games and things that don't apply to a certain gender or and that's for the diverse aspect, but also getting security out to them young, teaching them about strong passwords before they get hacked. I think a lot of the younger kids these days.
I'm working on 2. I've got a 13-year-old I'm trying to get introduced to LastPass in a meaningful way, and it's a little uphill. You're encouraging me here with my daughter. She's got 2 favorite T-shirts. She runs around and she's got a NASA one, and she's got this one that I got at a conference from some wacky hackers that call him and themselves Hyperion Gray, and it's just these little emoji for if you have an idea, rock it out on your keyboard, and she just wears the crap out of it.
That's funny. That's in my master's program. We had to write viruses, worms, Trojans. And I was going through my box the other day, and there was just like this old, I don't even remember what you call them now. They were like not a floppy drive, but it was like
there was zip
jazz. A zip. Yeah, I think it was a zip drive, and it just said virus on it. I'm like, okay, what am I going to do with this? Where do people plug it in? Where are you going to plug it in at?
You got to find yourself a USB zip drive. They're out there somewhere.
You mentioned just like dealerships sell cars, there are dealers who sell Cisco.
Yep.
And so you work with those dealers and educate and train them. Yep. What are some of the things that you educate and train them on?
For me, it's all about getting hands-on, taking the technology and making the most out of it. Security is one of the areas where Cisco has products. So for those that don't know, Cisco provides routing and switching, which is basically the internet. So you need food, water, and Cisco. In the latest survey in my mind. And those things come together, whether it's infrastructure, so wired, wireless environments. And to me, that's hand in hand with security. So Cisco sells the enterprise networks of wired and wireless. We sell data center technology, server storage, the switches that get you there, the routers that are oftentimes used in cloud environments. As we know, that's a big piece where Cisco gives you visibility into cloud software as a service so you can understand what's happening. But the cool thing about Cisco, and we also sell collaboration, like you said, phones. But the cool thing is that we are end to end. So we've had a journey for the past 7 years. So I used to sell explicitly security products for Cisco as a security consulting systems engineer for some of the largest companies in the Midwest. Spent a few years doing that. And since then, Cisco's invested in making it holistic. So putting, instead of just a firewall, that's a common thing that we know about in security. Hey, put the firewall in, anything that goes through this firewall, we're going to secure. Similar to a bouncer at a club. Hey, the bouncer at the club, say 20 Monroe, the guy checks the ID at the front, you're secure, you're in. But what they have at 20 Monroe, for example, is a headset. So they're able to talk to everyone in it. So it's almost like the connectedness of that. If it was just the bouncer, last night we had some inclement weather here in Grand Rapids. At the front door was a different experience than in the venue. But because they were so connected and talking to each other, everybody from front of house to back of house understood what was happening. And I think that that's what's happening on the network. We have security that's continuously looking at threats. And Cisco has a huge body of data intelligence called Talos, and that's looking at all of the intelligence of bad things happening on the internet that we give our customers. It's a free source of information. And then
do they call that threat intel?
Yeah, they do. They do. And there's lots of them out there. I'm biased that I like ours, but
all the things you're talking about, someone to do kind of what you're doing, they'd be wanting to learn all about security, or would it be programming, or would it be
in the field of any technology career, security especially, you just kind of need to get started somewhere. And then once you're in, you can build upon that skill and move to different careers. And programmability is big because we're starting to say, okay, for example, we have that wireless access point. If I'm Meyer, I might want to say, hey, wireless access point, here's my aisle area. If I see a bunch of cell phones here, maybe that means it's backed up, and then I can open another register. So it's really starting to say, okay, through the use of software, programmability, getting to the data, how can I do things that are better for my business, better for my employees, and also better for the supply chain, like manufacturing, where we have the rise of Internet of Things, basically more data, more sensors all over the network.
Ooh, okay. So I'm going to use that shift as one of these fancy pivots that you do in transition to another topic Cisco-wise that you might know a little something about, but I might be ambushing you a little bit here. So there's a big shakeup happening in the Cisco certification land. And this one will be particularly of interest to the students in our Cisco Networking Academy related classes. So as it stands now, today, there's the CCNA 6.0, and there's a bunch of big fancy certifications that will make you $1 million if you are a couple of levels up beyond that. But down here in the trenches where I live, we basically focused on the CCENT, the Cisco Certified Entry-Level Networking Technician.
Yes.
Wasn't always the most beautiful lineup of letters, which was like related to our first two Cisco classes. So am I reading the documentation right? That goes away in the next year-ish, becomes sort of not there anymore. And maybe the CCNA moves down a little bit. So do you have a feel for like what's going on there and what the big picture like thing that Cisco's trying to accomplish by shuffling the deck with these certifications?
Yeah, I think we realized that programmability and software, we're coming into that world, and people may not even know what Cisco is or what we do. We're traditionally a hardware company serving the internet. So we realized that our traditional certifications that you just said, CCEN, our Cisco Networking Academy, those programs are very strong in building the foundation of routers and switches. And you can even start at your home and say, how do I get online? and track it back to your home router and try diagramming and drawing what your home network is as a great exercise to understand how you get online. That's great for young children too, is doing that with them, or basically saying, okay, that's great, you could get online, what is it? But that hardware world wasn't translating to programmability. So we're trying to build kind of a parallel track. There's always going to be a need for people to understand network administration. However, we needed to layer the second new track of Cisco certifications, which is around our DevNet, developers on the network, using software skills, using computer science fundamentals, paired with the knowledge of the network to manage it, get the most out of it, and do the things I talked about before. So we had to make a little room and space for the second track of certifications, because there's going to be strong network people that have been doing it for a long time that are going to need to learn programmability and the aspects of our platform having open APIs.
So,
I know, I'm such a nerd.
To
I love it.
review last semester.
Right.
So, I mean, basically, we're opening our platform to say, hey, the data that we use, the things that we see, we are like a highway with cars on it. We can give you that data. What do you want to do with it? Do you want to use it for environmental? And that's like an analogy. Obviously, I'm a big analogy person. But the programmers also need to understand a little bit about the network. So if it's kind of cross-pollinating. So we're still going to have some sort of need for the network certifications. We just need those to evolve so that they're not teaching like the traditional CCENT. You don't really get a sense for the programmability. You don't really get a sense for some of our technologies that are allowing this shift to software that I talked about. But on the programmability side, you kind of need to know what is the wireless AP and routers and things like that. So it's kind of like a new approach to educating so that we can unlock the potential of the technology in the network. But we're growing, and it's,
So, all right, that didn't do a ton to assuage my fears about the forthcoming revisions.
I know a person. I'll help you out.
All right. Me and Lonnie had a conversation. Yeah. Lonnie Decker over at Davenport University had a conversation about this just the other day. So, because we try and mimic what they do, so we transfer into their stuff. So.
Yeah, I think all colleges, community colleges, any kind of learning institution needs to look at the networking curriculum to now have that software component, because they're going to need it. And we need the talent for it. The Cisco certifications that you talked about were landmark to network administration back in the 90s and the 2000s. And you need a network managed? Great. Get a CCNA, get a Cisco certified network administrator or a CCENT and train them up. And in today's landscape, we need that, but we need people who also understand software and APIs, because they're going to have to be passing the data via that technology through different areas of the business, which is going to allow more automation of the network. We've been manually configuring networks on a CLI for 25 years.
That's a command line interface to you.
I know.
Over there.
We'll provide a dictionary of acronyms.
There'll be a vocabulary.
But we've basically been going in and like putting it in, and it's not at the rate of speed that technology is moving. We need to move to something that's faster to get configurations done to manage this network. So it really is a necessity that we have to move into this space. And it's been awesome being at Cisco, being on the front line of that.
Do you want to tell the young folks, particularly the ones in the Cisco classes I'm going to assign this to, how to follow you, how to find you on the interwebs? You might have to spell Digessence.
You could just catch me on Twitter is fine. I think at @tech_Nicole. Technical. Get it?
I do. I catch you to do that. At Technical on the Twitters.
Yes. Or LinkedIn. I actually was so old that I got /Nicole. So if you do LinkedIn and /Nicole.
Man.
NICOLE.
Good get. What are they?
I know.
We did a whole episode about people trying to.
What is that called when you have a OG handle?
Yeah.
It's an OG
Quite
handle.
the OG. Quite the OG. And I just want to say one last thing. Anything that they're passionate about can be turned into a career in technology. It doesn't necessarily have to be Cisco. I started as a DJ turning vinyl records in college, wanting to teach, and then saw the potential of money, but also learning and availability in tech. So I just encourage people to do what they love. I know they hear that, but I think it's really possible, because you could do anything that you want with technology, but you can't do anything without it.
What, just quick follow-up. What was your DJ name in college?
The NES, the Nicole Entertainment System. I was not a famous DJ. You probably won't find records of this. I had another one that I went by that got vetoed very quickly by my friends, which I'll leave offline. It's not appropriate.
We're going to turn off the microphones and find out.
It's one of those emails you don't keep.
So I actually, for our literally tens of listeners, trivia about Noah, I spun house music and techno for a long time as well.
Yes.
I don't know if you spun house music. Or
Yes.
what you did. Okay.
House and old school East Coast hip hop.
Okay. Right on. I used to and still do occasionally produced it too since I was like 16 years
Yes.
old. And I even create the theme song for this podcast. So we have that. We have that connection.
Well, Noah, I'm going to hit you up offline and we can work on my tech album that I've been wanting to produce.
Sure.
Man. All right. To fess up, me and a couple of my friends, we did the industrial goth night at.
He's actually dressed like that right now, so don't lie.
What used to be Southside Jimmy's, I forget what it became after that. But.
You guys flip on the gas masks and just go crazy.
Heck yeah.
He had to borrow my eyeliner before this podcast because he wanted to relive it.
Guyliner brand Guyliner.
Guyliner. I've never heard. That's amazing. I've never heard that before.
It is amazing that you've never heard that before. You should get out.
If you take away anything from this podcast, Guyliner. Eyeliner for guys.
And that's a wrap, folks. Roll the credits.
Thanks for having me.
Defeasible Reasoning is produced at the Epic Studios of Grand Rapids Community College, Media Technologies Department. Epically executive produced by Noah D. Smith and hosted by me, Drew Roseman.